All right, welcome back, Life Science. Today I'm going to wrap up section 1.2. So we've been talking about how people classify organisms through the different levels of classification, starting with domain, then to kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, right? We talked about their scientific name, how their scientific name is derived from the genus name and the species name put together. Remember to capitalize that genus name and keep that species name lowercase. And so the final thing I want to talk about is how do we get to that classification of the 7 levels, right? How do we do that? So we're going to take a look at a classification tool called the dichotomous key. Now the dichotomous key is a series of questions. It's usually yes or no, and then you move on. And you can only answer it in 2 ways. That can lead to that identification of the organism. You can only answer it 2 ways. Helps you narrow down the list of possible organisms, and most of the time you just look at the characteristics of that animal. You just look at it. So here, if I have some type of invertebrate phyla, okay, so some type of invertebrate, an animal that does not have a backbone, I can ask a series of questions that can help me narrow it down. So I could look at it and say, is it asymmetrical or symmetrical? Asymmetrical means you can't cut it in half so it mirrors each other. And if that's the case, you're looking at a sponge. Sponges are the only invertebrates that are asymmetrical. But if it is symmetrical, then I'm going to go on to another set of questions. Is it bilateral symmetry or is it radial symmetry? So radial means you can cut it in any direction and it's going to, mirror itself. Kind of like when you cut a pizza. When you cut a pizza once, if you cut it down the middle somewhere, you can cut it anywhere and get radial symmetry. Bilateral means that there's only one way you can cut it to get that mirror image. So humans are bilateral. Cut it like straight down the nose, right? The midline, the chest, okay? That's bilateral symmetry. So if you answer yes to radial, then it's cnidaria. If you answer no to radial, then you move on to another set of questions. Does it have an anus or no anus? And if it's no anus, then it's a platyhelmintha. If it does, then we move on to visible segmentation or no visible segmentation. And if it has visible segmentation, then we can look at even more characteristics. But the bottom line is it's a series of yes or no questions, and eventually it gets a little bit more specific until you reach the organism that you are looking at. So here's a dichotomous key for leaves, and I believe this is in your notes. So I'd like to work through this, okay? Let me get my marker ready. All right, let's take a look at A, okay? So here's my dichotomous key, and from here I can figure out which species I am looking at. So first question, does it have needle leaves or non-needle leaves? And I look at it and I'm like, nope, there's no needles here. So needle leaves say go to 2. Well, it's not that, so I'm actually going to go to B. Non-needle leaves go to 3. So I skip 2 and I go to question 3. Does it have simple leaves or a single leaf? Or is it a compound leaf made of tiny little leaflets? And I look at it and it's made of a single leaf. And it tells me to go to question 4. So I hop down to question 4. Is it smoothed edged or jagged edged? So look at the leaf. Looks smooth to me. Says go to step 5. So I jump down to step 5. Leaf edge is smooth or leaf edge is lobed. Now smooth means that it's pretty much continuous. Lobed means you get something like this. And we don't have that, okay? So it is smooth. Therefore, our leaf that we are looking at is a magnolia. Oh, I already spelled magnolia wrong. M-A-G-N-O. Okay, magnolia. Cool, moving on. Let's look at B. Needle leaves, non-needle leaves. Look at it. All right, non-needle leaves go to 3. So we skip 2, we go to 3. Simple leaf, single leaf, or compound leaf made of tiny little leaflets. This would be an example of a compound leaf. So I'm going to jump all the way down to question 7. Leaflets attached to one single point or leaflets attached at multiple points. So these are leaflets. Here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. So it's got multiple points. This is the leaf of a walnut. Oh, it's really hard to write on your walnut. Ah, there. Moving on to C. Question 1, needle leaves, non-needle leaves. Okay, non-needle leaves. I'm going to jump down to question 3. Simple leaf or compound leaf? Well, I only got one leaf here, so simple leaf. Go to question 4. Smooth-edged or jagged-edged? This looks jagged to me. All right, so go to step 6. 6. Leaf edge is small and tooth-like. Leaf edge is large and thorny. These are small and tooth-like, so this leaf is an elm. All right, moving on to D. Needle leaves or non-needle leaves? It's got needle leaves, so I go on to step 2. Needles are clustered. Needles are in singlets. Okay, so if I look, you can see that they are clustered together. They're in bundles here. So I'm looking at a type of pine. Don't know what type, but it's a type of pine. Could be a red pine, could be a red pine, a white pine. Okay, moving on to A, B, C, D, E. Needle leaf or non-needle leaf? This is definitely needle leaf. Go to step 2. Needles are clustered or in singlets. Well, this is singlets, so this is spruce. Made my S really big. All right, F. Needle leaf, non-needle leaf. That's a non-needle leaf. Go to step 3. Single leaf or a compound leaf? That's a single leaf. Single leaf, go to step 4. Jagged-edged, smooth-edged or jagged-edged? Smooth-edged, go to step 5. Leaf edge is smooth or leaf edge is lobed? This is lobed, so this is my white oak. I-T-E, oak. All right, that looks like bok. Oak. Okay, moving on. F, G, here we go. Needle leaves or non-needle leaf? You would say non-needle leaf, go to step 3. Single leaves or compound leaves? These are leaflets, these are compound leaves. Go to step 7. Leaflets attached to a single point, leaflets attached at multiple points. Well, they all look like they're at one point right there, so this is a chestnut. C-H-E-S-T, trying to write in cursive here. Chest. Nut. All right, my final leaf. Needle leaf or non-needle leaf? You'd say non. Move on to step 3. Single leaf, compound leaf. So this is simple, single, so step 4. Smooth-edged or jagged-edged? So this is jagged. Go on to step 6. Leaf edge is small and tooth-like. Leaf edge is large and thorny. All those look like thorns to me, so H is holly. How fitting. H-O-L-L-Y. There, holly. Okay. Now, another tool that we can use to classify organisms. So we can use the dichotomous key. You're either this or this, and then you move on to the next question. It's almost like playing 20 questions. But another tool is called a cladogram. It's a branch diagram that shows the relationship among animals. So if you were given a group of animals and you were told to classify them based on their characteristics, you would arrange them in a way that gets a little bit more complex. So you notice that all of these animals have jaws, while this one does not. So you can say the presence of jaws, and then this would be your outlier, or the first group in that's kind of eliminated. The hagfish. Hagfish don't have jaws. They are jawless. They're basically vacuum tubes that swim in the ocean. So all of these have jaws. But then you notice, okay, these organisms have lungs and the fish do not have lungs. They have gills. So you can say the presence of gills. So your perch gets eliminated and now you're left with these organisms. And then you go on to say claws or nails. Well, salamanders don't have claws or nails, but the lizard, pigeon, mouse, and chimp do. Moving on, you can say these are mammals and birds are not mammals. They also have feathers, and that's another characteristic that can differentiate between the two. So you go pigeon, and then you have your mouse and your chimp, and then you can, subdivide it even further, maybe bipedal or something. I don't know, whatever. But that's one way that you can show the relationship among animals and group them accordingly to their characteristics. So we call that a cladogram. Okay, so your assignment today is to look at how to use a dichotomous key. Now, if you didn't know any of these animals, you could use this simple dichotomous key to figure out what type of animal they are. So if I look at question 1, does it have a backbone or no backbone? Well, it has a backbone, so I go to question 2, wings or no wings? Snakes don't have wings. Oh, I just said the name of this organism. Move on to step 3, legs or no legs? And you'd say, no legs, it's a snake. Okay, so I have found an assignment that deals with aliens, animals that you do not know. So we're going to use the dichotomous key to find the scientific name for each one. And then you need to write your answers down here below. So for example, let's just take a look at this green dude, okay? Mouth open, mouth not open. You say, okay, the mouth is open. So we go to step 2. Arms or no arms? I'm not seeing any arms. So no arms means that this is an alienus quadlegicus. And that makes sense because it's an alien, and then quad means 4, and then legicus, legs. It's got 4 legs. So this guy's name right here is alienus quadlegicus, and you'd write that right here. Okay, so yeah, that is your assignment. And then this bottom one here, you're going to make your own dichotomous key, where you form a question, a yes or a no. And so everyone's going to do their own, and I could potentially have 15 different ways that you can classify them. So my suggestion to you is figure out which one really stands out. Okay. So like, for example, maybe you want to start with the shark because the shark has gills. So you can say gills or no gills. And if you say gills, then you'd say hammerhead shark. No gills, move on to step 2. And then you could go, okay, so shark, I already got the shark. Let's go, okay, so iguana. Spikes, does it have spines on its back, right? So presence of spines. Iguana, no spines, move on to step 3. And now you have got the iguana, and now you're left with a sea turtle and a tortoise and the farragut bird and a blue-footed booby. And you could subdivide it that way, okay? So start with one that you can kind of pick out right away and then move on from there. All right, that does it for dichotomous keys. Tomorrow we are going to do a lab dealing with dichotomous key jelly beans.